Something's rotten on Christophsis. A clone has gone traitor. We're going to talk about it. Size of Coin starts right now. Yeah, that's the last time I give us the intro. This is episode 2 of our chronological rewatch of the Clone Wars. This is season 1, episode 16? 16. So 216 and 116. Those were their flashback episodes, I guess. This is called The Hidden Enemy, and it takes place directly before the theatrically released Clone Wars movie. Joining us today is, as always, it seems, Michael. And we have Nick as well. Say hello, Nicholas.
How's it going?
It's a full name sort of day today. Everybody's gonna get the full name treatment. All right, let's start with our original reactions to this episode, just what we thought, generally speaking. I thought it had some really cool themes introduced, and there was a lot of gray area, lots of things that went on. It was very condensed, so there were a lot of things they had to move very quickly past and beyond. But overall, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, I thought the same. I felt like it was an entire movie condensed into a 20-minute episode. They had full 3 acts. They did everything that you would expect, but they came to their conclusions very quickly. The searching around, all this stuff was very, very quick, chop, done. I thought if this was done later in the series, it would have been one of those 3-episode arcs.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely, I could have seen that happening. Nick, again, this is Nick's first time watching these through, so I want to get your reaction as to what you thought first time seeing this.
Yeah, I mostly agree. I thought they did it very well, just a little quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the scene when they were interrogating the clones, trying to find out who was where, and you really had to listen to each story and put pieces together. I thought the lightsaber fight was pretty good. So overall, yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, there was some cool action. I think now if you can cue up the synopsis, Michael. Basically, we'll run through generally what happens at a really high level in case people aren't watching these episodes along with us, which is something we would all encourage everyone to do. But let's run through what some of these are actually pretty good episodes. You're gonna slog through the mire later. They're not all
the blue
winners,
shadow
but
virus. I can't wait.
I gotta get. I watched these with Angela, and there were some that I'm really bummed she's not here today, because there were some that she was just like really enjoying some, and then others it was just an effort to get through, and I really want to hear her just wire brush these episodes. But all right, so let's talk about the synopsis. What generally happens? Please hold your Yularen voice.
Yeah, no. Anakin and Obi-Wan discover evidence of a traitor amongst their ranks while attempting to lead Republic forces to liberate a planet of Christophsis from a separatist siege. When Republic is ambushed on Christophsis, it becomes clear that someone has set them up. The Jedi suspect Sith, while Rex and Cody uncover information that points to a spy amongst them. They said amongst like 3 times there. All right.
So yeah, there were some pretty cool themes introduced here. Aside from, like Nick mentioned, the awesome, well, at least pretty interesting lightsaber fight at the end with Anakin Obi-Wan versus Ventress. Yeah, it was pretty cool. You got to see the clones a lot more, and anytime you spend time with the clones in this show, I think generally speaking, it delivers, and it really adds a lot of layers to it, and it does a good job. It handles them well, particularly their motivations and how they deal with the stressful situation they've been put in, and given they had no control over their creation, their existence, or anything like that,
right.
How they react. So I guess starting out in that first bit, they got some pretty good action scenes on Christophsis too.
Right.
That was pretty cool, and the way they were betrayed was interesting to watch as well.
Right.
Anything jump out at you in the first act, Michael?
So this one, and leading into the movie right after it, I feel like this is like immediately when you realize this is a violent show. Like you're seeing clones get pulverized left and right. They're punching battle droids and breaking their fists, and they're falling down, and they're getting cornered in hallways, and they're just falling like flies. And you see some really good action in this episode. And then later on, they start asking, when they kind of get into the motivations for the clone spy, they get into some very interesting different existential questions about like, what are the clones, and are they slaves or are they not slaves, kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Nick, what'd you think as far as that first sort of chunk and the action, and then also some of the subtler themes? What'd you enjoy? What'd you dislike?
Yeah, I thought they handled the action well. It was a little surprising since I pretty much thought it was a kids show,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, it kept me engaged. Uh, when it got to Slick's reasoning behind it, of course, I followed a different logic, but I can totally understand how someone could like think that way.
Mm-hmm.
And since everyone takes experiences through their own perspective, it was cool to see all the clones acting different ways, you know.
It was interesting because clearly he was unwell. I mean, his logic wasn't solid. Like you can have sympathy for the fact that they were bred to do a job that they didn't necessarily want to do. But if he was talking about I did this for my brothers and everything, like I mean,
Yeah, but he's getting them killed, right?
yeah,
That makes
exactly.
sense.
Like that, he's directly leading to many of their deaths that you see in the intro to the next movie. So, yeah, I think the logic was definitely flawed, but you can easily be manipulated by the Sith and by Ventress and people like that. I mean, you know,
Right.
you've got mind tricks, and God only knows, maybe that played some role. Who knows? But let's talk about the Jedi side of it as well. Obi-Wan and Anakin's dynamic when they were interacting with Ventress. Ventress as a character gets a ton of development throughout this whole show, and it's really interesting to see her in the very beginning where she's just she's like a live wire and really just a killing machine. She's sort of like a Darth Maul type of murder weapon person. I don't know. It was interesting to
Right.
see that dynamic.
Well, it's also weird because you immediately have the sense that they have history with her, even though for most people who didn't see the Tartakovsky series, they have no idea who this character is. They're like, who on earth is this bald chick? And
Right.
why do Anakin and Obi-Wan seem to know who she is?
Why is Obi-Wan flirting so
right,
hard?
so much flirting. But yeah, it's interesting to see her, and then she is a little bit of a two-dimensional villain at first. She's kind of like the one step below Dooku villain. We don't even see Grievous very often, but you're right. Her progression throughout the series is better than that of even Anakin and Obi-Wan's, I think.
And in the
Second
books
only to
and-
maybe Ahsoka's.
Yeah, well, Ahsoka's got along. Yeah,
Right.
We'll touch on that in the next episode for sure. But Nick, you had never met Ventress before this, I don't believe. So what was your reaction to her as a character, and what do you think of her where she's at right now?
Yeah, like was mentioned, it seemed like they had already ran into her, and I guess that's fine, but I was still hazy on the backstory. It seems like she could be really dangerous. That's believable. I'm waiting to see more with her and Anakin fighting.
Yeah, she gets a lot to do in this show. I think season 1 and 2 really is a lot of like Sunday morning cartoon vibes with the way they did this. So like the bad guys
Foiled
often
again.
lose. Yeah. But later on they start to get more self-aware, and like, and we'll talk about when it happens. But like they start to reference the constant failures, and then
Right.
you know they have to step up their game, and then they do win some rounds and really hurt the heroes and stuff. So it's pretty cool to see.
And they do get into her backstory, how she became what she is, but they don't, you know, they mention a little bit. There's the book too that they talk about it, but they don't really mention the buildup, like what led to her conflicts with Obi-Wan and Anakin. We don't see that in this series.
That's right. Yeah, you never really get that. In Legends, which was canon at the time this was made, in like the Labyrinth of Evil book and all these sort of things, they talk about like the different fights that she had on Yavin and stuff in the Tartakovsky series. And that's how Anakin got his scar and all these sort of things. So you see a little bit of that. So maybe they were assuming that other people had read this material, but now that it's all Legends and this is the only canon, you're right. There really isn't much explanation of that. So the fact that Rex and Cody were required to improvise and figure this all out by themselves, I think was pretty exciting as well. Because typically the clones serve as support for the Jedi throughout this show.
Right.
So it was neat to see them get their own storyline and work through challenges. It was pretty cool.
They also introduced the rank of captain. It's like, what is Captain Rex? We haven't had captains be in charge of people like Commander Cody, and then Captain Rex is kind of weird.
Does Cody outrank Rex? I think
he does, but I don't know. And why? How come like the head of the 501st is a captain? But I don't know. That was always a question I asked watching this. Is like, well, Captain Rex is kind of,
because by the time of Order 66, the commander of the 501st is Appo, and he's Commander Appo. So I just don't know. I'd be interested. Yeah, they did introduce that. I guess maybe it's to add just more nuance and levels to it. But yeah, that's fascinating. I'll have to spend some more time and look into that. Anything else jump out at you guys in this episode? Go ahead. Start with Nick here.
I was surprised at how betrayed I felt by Slick. I'm not too invested in the series, but maybe it's the whole franchise itself. The clones are helping the Republic fight for freedom, and this Slick wants to come and just mess it up. Come on, Slick, what are you doing?
It's disappointing. It is, yeah, and particularly the camaraderie that all these clones have. It's you can definitely feel the betrayal on their behalf for sure. What do you think, Michael? Anything else jump out at you?
Not too much. I liked the nod and wink, that Cody and Rex also have a good relationship, and they were able to basically thwart him without even having to talk about it so much on screen, which is, again, maybe something you would have seen if it was a longer episode, but I thought it was pretty good.
It was solid. It was very enjoyable. And next time we will get to go into the greatest of all Star Wars content ever produced, which is the theatrically released Clone Wars movie, and we'll talk about it on Sides of Coin. Thanks for watching.